Hey guys, it's me, Sujoy, over here. So today I'm going to be talking about teaching English in Thailand, the ugly truth. So this is my personal experience. Now I've been living in, I'm not a resident of Thailand, and I've been coming to Thailand, especially Bangkok, many times. I primarily live in Vietnam, so I've been living in Vietnam for over 5 years now. I've taught English in in a couple of public schools in Ho Chi Minh City for 3.5 years. Then I had my own teaching business for a year, and then I started with my digital marketing freelance business. So I can say that I'm not relied on English teaching right now, but I decided to make this video because I want to give you my personal intake, especially if you're a non native teacher, if you are not white, if you have dark brown skin, and especially if you're coming from India. And if you're looking for an English teaching opportunity here in Thailand, especially here in Bangkok, which is kind of next to impossible, actually. So let me just have a sip of this coffee over here. So I'm going to break it down everything. Okay. Many people say that, I've heard over on the internet, I've gone through some forums and all those things. Is there teaching discrimination here in Thailand? Absolutely, there is teaching discrimination here in Thailand. It also comes down to the kind of pay scale you may get. If you're looking for a teaching opening in Bangkok, if you're a non native teacher who has brown skin, or if you're a black teacher, and if you're coming from India, and even if you have a teaching certificate, it's going to be very, very difficult for you. You may have to teach somewhere outskirts of Bangkok, or maybe some other small provinces here in Thailand. Um, and the salaries which you may get would be somewhere between 23 or 28,000 baht. Now, like I said, I do run my own freelance digital marketing business. I'm a professional blogger, so my source of income is not dependent on teaching. Because I've kind of established myself, but yes, I'm always open to teaching English in foreign countries, especially here in Thailand. And I've made a couple of trips here in Bangkok to analyze and to understand, like if I can get some kind of teaching opportunities here. But sadly, the reality is very different. So just to let you know that I hold a okay, so I hold an Indian passport. I'm from India, and I I did my American graduation from college from the U.S., and I have an Australian TESOL certificate. Okay, so I'm just giving you my personal intake, and I've lived in Europe for over 10 years. I hardly spend time I hardly have spent my life in India, but sure, that is my country, and I love it. So just to let you know how difficult it is, even in my case. Okay, so I have over 3.5 years of teaching experience, and when I was in Vietnam, I was like trying to look out for some teaching opportunities. I joined with this teaching website called as ajarn.com, I believe. Yeah. So what really bothered me is that most of the job classified ads, the teaching job classified ads over there, they're like only stating native teachers only, or South African. I believe South Africa was never listed as a native teacher for 3 years back, but now it's included. Anyways, I'm not bragging about it, I'm not blaming them. I mean, I love South Africa, but it's just like you're just keeping a bar, like native teachers only, and I even experimented, like sending my application, my U.S. degree, and everything. But when they looked at my picture, and when they look at my passport that I'm from India, some of them would just reply back to me saying that, Sujoy, thanks for applying, but we are only looking for native teachers. So I think this kind of discrimination, even post COVID, is happening. I do know that they do hire Filipino teachers. It's like that pilot program, even in Vietnam, which happens. But of course, I'm not a Filipino. I've lived in Philippines for 5 years. I know how they speak English. My ex-wife was from the Philippines. I was in Manila before. So I'm not bragging about that, but still, like Filipino teachers, they just get like around 20,000 Thai baht, if they're being hired as an English teacher, or a homeroom teacher, or whatever it is. Yeah. Um, I mean, majority of the people in India, they also speak English. Okay. And if a guy like me who has a neutral American accent, even if you can't recruit me in your schools here in Thailand, then something is definitely wrong. Then I can just imagine the magnitude of the level of discrimination which is being practiced over here by most of the schools and centers over here, especially in Bangkok. And I even tried for Chiang Mai and all those, but some of them, like, they get got back to me and said, "Can you teach math?" And here's a funny story, because I never taught math before. I was like saying, I've taught English and all that. And the school replied to me saying, "But you're Indian, right? You're good in math." I mean, is that kind of a generalization? And as a matter of fact, I was terrible in math. I used to suck at math. I used to flunk a lot of, I used to get very bad grades in math, math and science. But still, why not give English teaching positions, for non-native teachers, coming from India, if they have a teaching certificate, a proper teaching certificate, um, you know, um, and if their accent is neutral and not a very heavy accent, I think you should include India too. I mean, you should. I mean, and an experienced teacher like me, should be looking around 35,000 baht or something. And I mean, if there are some teachers coming from India and they want to teach English and they have a neutral accent, they have a positive attitude, a good attitude, I think they should be getting somewhere around 28,000 baht and all that and up. So, because yeah, I mean, I've been teaching a lot in Vietnam, but thought that maybe I can look into Thailand, because definitely Bangkok is more structured. It's better than Vietnam. But I was kind of a bit taken back. Even I visited. I won't name this agency, but they're actually into helping non-native teachers secure some teaching jobs and all that. But I mean, I had a word with them, but they like said that 35,000 baht is too much for you. For you, it's like 28,000 baht or something. I mean, an experienced teacher like me who has been teaching, who has over 3.5 years of teaching experience. Are you kidding me? And especially Bangkok is so expensive in terms of accommodation. I mean, averagely you'll be spending somewhere around, I don't know, my best guess would be around 6 to 8,000 baht per month if you want to live in a decent one bedroom studio apartment. And you got to pay all that nonsense deposit or something, which I never like to do. So, that's one of my main reasons of coming also to Thailand, was to understand the teaching environment over here. But I can still see that most of the job websites, teaching job websites, especially on ajarn.com, and even on Craigslist or something like that. But I think you should provide some leniency. I mean, just don't put a wall. Like, oh, we only need native teachers. From UK, America, Australia, South Africa. We don't give a fuck if you're from a non-native country, and if you have an U.S. degree, and if you're a person of color. Pardon my language, but you know, um, I don't think that's the way to go about it. You should give some chances, like if the teacher has good teaching skills, is able to provide a good demo, has a positive attitude, and also wants to explore his or her teaching opportunities here in Thailand, you should allow that. In fact, the trend should change, hopefully by this year, that along with native teachers, you should also include that if the non native teacher has a neutral American accent, you're invited to, you should be reconsidered, okay? And it doesn't matter if, and now the new thing, which I mean, what I'm actually looking around these job postings is that, or Europeans, if you have a non-native, if you're non-native from Europe, I mean that's all right, but why can't you also entertain people of color who are coming from non-native countries like in India? Because I told you, majority of the people in India, we speak English, okay? As long as the accent is neutral and people are able to understand you, that shouldn't be much of a problem. So I think the Thai Ministry of Education over here needs to actually evaluate this, and I hope they get to watch this video as well. And most of the hiring schools, international schools, the language centers here in Thailand, especially in Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Phuket, they should actually look into this. They should try to change the trend, when it comes to their hiring policies, because it's kind of very frustrating, and it's kind of, I mean, like I said, I do run a freelance digital marketing business, so that is something which I do for the side. But like I applied for over, I believe over 500 applications here. I mean, it's been a long, long time now, but you don't get entertained, and just even if you're an experienced teacher, and if you even if you don't have teaching experience in Thailand, they'll give you a very low pay if you're a non-native teacher. So I think that's not the way to go about it. So yeah, I mean, I just thought of making this video because nobody talks about this much, So like I said, in my channel, I like to be very frank, be very upfront, no BS, and I like to target the realities, So I really hope that the hiring practices here in Thailand change a bit, because frankly speaking, I'm a bit let down. What I can say in terms of hiring non-native teachers in Vietnam is that I can see the trend starting to happen, where most of the schools like ILA, VUS, I'm not quite sure about Wall Street English, but they usually hire non-native teachers in Vietnam, and they like to say that if your accent is neutral American, or if you have a neutral accent, and if you have a certified teaching certificate. I mean, as an experienced teacher, I would never endorse someone. I would never encourage any school or center to hire any teacher who doesn't have a teaching certificate, and who doesn't have a degree. I mean, I've had stories where my fellow teachers, they don't even have a teaching certificate, but just because they're white, they get a better salary, and they get all that jazz, the accommodation, proper studio apartments, a good standard of living. So it's like 10 times harder for us non-native teachers to come up to their level in terms of having a good standard of living, and also the level of discrimination which you may encounter as a non-native teacher if you're a person of color. When you're teaching in the schools, you may have unsupportive TA. Maybe you may get harassed by the students based on your nationality. So all these things hopefully needs to be addressed. So I mean, that's all I have to say. I just wanted to keep this video a bit short. So so if you're a non-native teacher, and if you're, especially if you're coming from India, and if you have a teaching certificate, I don't think Thailand would be the best option for you as of now, unless until unless and until the hiring practices by these schools and centers, change and reform a bit, because there's still a lot of discrimination and racism in terms of the hiring practices, the pay scale, and of course passport discrimination, especially if you're having a passport from India. So I mean, which I think is kind of very disgusting and weird. So that's all I have to say. This was me, Sujoy, signing out. You guys have a great day. Peace out.